It's TK Friday and it's time for another full edit. Hello everyone and welcome to the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly and welcome to TK Friday. Today it's another full edit. This image comes to us from Werner Voska, and the title of today's image is A Lighthouse in the Alps. Also, I'm thrilled to welcome all the new subscribers to my channel, especially those who have joined after my content has been dubbed into different languages. I hope you're enjoying the videos and finding them helpful and entertaining. Please feel free to leave a comment and share your thoughts. I love hearing from you. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video. Thanks for being part of the Joy of Editing community. Please note that the dubbing process can sometimes take up to a day for YouTube to publish. Unfortunately, this is out of my control. Thank you for your patience and understanding. Also, I want you to know over at the Tony Kuiper web store, there's a launch sale going on right now for Sean Bagshaw's excellent new course, Luminosity Masks, Exposure Blending. I highly recommend it. You're going to love it. Now, I have a favor to ask you. There's a special promo code over at Tony Kuiper's web store, but if you will use my promo code DK25, you will get the same 25% off your entire purchase at the TK web store that the other code gives you. The difference is you'll be supporting the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly because I'll make a small commission, and I really appreciate it when you use my code, so thank you for that. But this is a great course. I highly recommend it. If you don't yet own the TK9 plugin for Photoshop, you may want to pick that up. There's a bunch of great courses over here, also by Sean Bagshaw. And also, don't forget the TK Magic Mixer plugin. It's great for black and white conversions, working with color, whatever. It's excellent. I highly recommend it. So don't forget, use my promo code DK25 and you'll save 25% off your entire purchase. The sale ends at the end of this month, February 28th. 2025. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Now, as always, I start out here in Lightroom and I use the linear profile for Werner's camera. I want to keep a pretty flat image going into Photoshop. Now, as far as detail, I'm doing no sharpening. And also for lens corrections, I always check on remove chromatic aberration and enable profile corrections. I also did do a crop in this image, as you can see. And see these chairs right here. There was a bench up here that I removed in Lightroom. It didn't do such a good job on these chairs here, and I didn't think they added to the image, so I went ahead and removed these in Photoshop with generative fill. Did a great job, as well as these logs. I didn't think they really added to the image. Now at this point, I just right click on the image, go to edit in and edit in Photoshop, but I'm already there. And here we are inside of Photoshop. Now, those chairs are right here. I removed them, as I said, and the log that was over here. I even cropped in a little bit tighter. I just thought this looks better. Now, when you get your image, it's going to look just like this. Now, as always, you can download this image and the PDF notes. You're going to find those in the description of this video. Click more. Scroll down, you'll find those. If you have an image you'd like me to edit on the TK Friday, scroll down further, you'll find a Contact Me link. Contact me and we can discuss doing one of your images on the TK Friday. Now for this edit, and you see me doing this every TK Friday, I like to do a balance and contrast of sky and foreground. Now I could not save out a sky and foreground in this image because Photoshop gets fooled. This is a tricky image because you have this fog back here and it can't find it. So let me show you how I got around that. Come up to the Luminosity Mask panel, click on the Luminosity Mask button, and click on Midtones 3. I only use Midtones 3 to protect my darkest shadows and my lightest highlights from getting clipped, losing information. And now we'll output this to a color grading tool by clicking this button. And now you can see I have a color grading tool and I have this layer right here with that Midtones 3 mask on it. Right now, I'll be adjusting the entire image with this color grading tool, but I'm only interested in this area right here, okay? Not even the lighthouse, just this entire area right here. So we're gonna start out, I'll click the midtone button, and I want to just open up those midtones, and I'm going to go to right there, plus 51. Now I just want to give those a slight color grade. So you see my cursor, I'm just going to click like right here just to warm up those midtones a bit. And now we'll work on the shadows. I'll click on the shadow button and I just want to darken up those shadows. I'll drag this brightness slider to the left and we'll stop at right there, a -28. Now let me shut this off. Here's a before and here's an after, but I'm just looking at this area right here. This up here does not look good. So I'll show you how we're going to take care of that. I'll use an old technique. I'm going to put this layer inside a group. So on my combo, or you could use your CX panel, look for this button right here. It has two sides. On the left side, you're going to put this in a group with a black mask. The right side gives you a white mask. I need a black mask. So I'll click this button. And now we've hidden that adjustment. And now what you need to do is grab a white brush. We can click on this button right here. Make sure you're at 100% opacity. If not, type your 0 key. Also, you want a nice soft 0% hardness edge on it. And I'll make my brush a little larger and just paint on this area. Now I'm only coming over to here. I'm not going out into the water. So paint this all on. Be careful around the edge up there. Like I said, I'll make my brush a little bit smaller and just paint right up in here, maybe over here a little bit. Make sure I'm up in here. And then if you click the double arrow button, you can see if you missed any areas, like see, I missed that area right there and down here. I think I'm pretty good over here, just a little bit, something like that. Now click this button again, zoom in and check out these areas. If you overpainted, use a black brush and you can correct it. Now this looks a little light right here. So what I'll do is switch to a black brush. I'm going to type my 1 key and go to 10% opacity. And again, with that nice soft edge brush, I'll paint across there once, twice. See, I can reduce that and maybe just paint over there like that. And I think that is good. Let me shut off this group, which is this foreground area. Here is the before and here is the after. So I really like it. Next up, we're going to turn our attention to this lighthouse because it's the star of the show. So here's what we need to do. We need to collapse this group by clicking right here. Let's click on the background layer. This is important because I need to select out the lighthouse. And if I'm on this group layer, let me show you. If this group layer is active and I click the select subject button on the combo panel, I get this message. A group layer cannot be the active layer for this function. Okay, so click on background. And now if I click on subject, you'll notice I can select the subject. Now I went ahead and zoomed way in because you can see it's missed a little area of the lighthouse here and down here. So here's what I'll do. Get a lasso tool. I'm going to click my lasso tool. Hold down your shift key to add to the selection and draw a circle around that area it missed. And down here, what I want to do is miss this area right here. I'm going to get the polygonal lasso tool, this guy right here, or polygonal, however you say it. Hold your shift key down. I'm going to click right here. I'm going to come over here and click, and come over here and click, and come up, click, click, and double click here. And it just fills that area right in. You see that? Now that we've got that lighthouse, I think I'll need to use that selection again. So what I'm going to do is save it out as a channel. So we'll come up to the combo or CX panel, click this button right here. Let's call this Lighthouse. So just type in Lighthouse and click OK. And it saves it as a channel, as you can see right here. Now I'm going to click on the group layer to make it active. I need to get to my multi-mask panel. I'm going to click the X on the color grading tool. Nothing changes on the color grading layer. I'm going to click on my channels, and now you could click on Lighthouse or the active selection, which is the lighthouse. It doesn't matter. I'll just click on active selection. And now for the mask calculator, click on the mask calculator button, click X to intersect, and now click on the luminosity mask button, click on midtones 3. Now you'll notice with midtones 3, the reason I'm using this is because midtones 3 knocks out that light that's in the lighthouse there. I don't want to lighten that up because this step involves lightening up this lighthouse, and I don't want to lighten up the light. So that's why I chose midtones 3 for this, in case you're wondering. And now I'll just click on the equal to make that calculation, and there's our lighthouse. And now we're going to output this to a brightness contrast adjustment. Click this button on the multi-mask panel. And now what I want to do is lighten up the lighthouse. So I'm going to drag this lightness slider to the right. And you'll note that the light does not change here, right? So I'm going to drag this over to right here at 54. I also want to increase the contrast, so I'll take the contrast slider and drag it to the right. And I'll take it to right there, plus 66. Now let me shut off this layer. Here is the before and here's the after. Pretty cool. Right now your eye goes to that lighthouse because, again, it is the star of this image. Next up, I want to increase the red saturation on the lighthouse. I'm going to come back to the multi-mask panel, click on the My Channels button. We'll click on Lighthouse, click the Mask Calculator button, click X to intersect, click on the Color Mask button, and we want to sample some red in this lighthouse, like right here. Click OK. Let's lighten up this selection by dragging this slider, this brightness slider, to the right. And we're going to take it over to, say, like right around here, and I think that will be good. Let's do a levels adjustment to lighten that up a little more. So click the levels button, and I want to drag this highlight slider to the left over to like right there. And now let's click equal, and now we just got the lighthouse. And now let's output that to a hue saturation adjustment layer because we want to work with the color. And let's take our saturation and drag it to the right. It'll only target red, and we'll stop right here at 41. Now it's a little light. I'll take the lightness slider and drag it to the left over to right there, -14. Now let me shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. Just a little bit more red saturation there. And now I just take a moment to look at the image, and I'm noticing some of these darker rock areas are too dark, so I want to lighten those up. Now I could use a dodge tool to do that, but I want to introduce a new tool inside of TK9 version 3, and that is the screen brush, which also lightens. And I'm going to use that to lighten these rocks, and I'll show you how I do it. Come up to the multi-mask panel and click on the zone button. And what I want to do is sample some of the darker area, like right in here. I'll just give that a click and click OK. And now we can go ahead and tighten this up. All these light areas are the dark areas. So I'm going to take this tighten slider and drag it into the left. And I'm going to take it over to like right here. See how it really targets those areas? And now I want to lighten that up. So I'll take the brightness slider and we'll drag this to the right over to somewhere like right around here. And I'll take this slider and drag it to the left to right here. See, it really targets those light areas. So I fine-tuned that selection with this slider. Now, I need to output this. So we're going to come down here. You see right here, this hamburger menu. Click on it and look for SCR with a brush icon. Click on this. This is a screen brush, but we're going to be painting through that selection I made with the zone mask. I want to use 50% opacity, which I have. If you don't have it, type your 5 key. That'll get you 50%. And then just look for all these little dark areas and paint once, lift your brush, you can paint again and lighten them up a little bit more. So I'm just finding all of these areas and painting over them, and that just will lighten them up. Now I'll go ahead and finish this off and I'll get right back to you. I'm back. Right now you're seeing before the screen brush. Look at the rocks down here. I'll turn the layer back on. Here is the after. Again, the before and the after. And I think that looks much better. Next up, I want to lighten the overall midtones of this image. So to do that, we're going to come up to the multi-mask panel and click on the luminosity mask button, and we'll click on midtones 1. Now we have midtones 1, 2, and 3. They're all midtones, but midtones 1 is the most subtle of the midtones. So I want that. I'm going to output that to a curves adjustment layer. I'm not going to do anything with the curve. All I want to do is change this to the screen blend mode. So on the Commodore CX panel, click the screen button, and that lightens up the midtones. But if you'll look back here, it also lightens this area up a little too light. You may not see this on the video, but here's what I want to do to protect that. We're going to come up to the multi-mask panel, click on the Edit Blend Diff button, and look in this area right here. I'm going to click on No Darks 1. It's very subtle. I'll shut it off here by unchecking gray. This is before, this is after. I don't know if you can see that, but it gets slightly darker, which is what I want. I think it's a little too light, so I'm going to click right here for the layer opacity and just drag this back to right there, 72%. Now let me shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. For this next step, what I want to do is darken down these rocks here and over here, more so in this area right here and less over here. I need to get to my multi-mask panel. Edit Blend Diff is in the way. I'll click the X. Nothing changes on this Edit Blend Diff layer. And now we're going to click on the Color Mask button. And what I want to do is sample some of the color down in here. I'm going to click right here and click OK. And we don't see much, but I'll take the brightness slider and I'll start to drag it to the right. But you see how it starts to lighten up? And I'm going to drag it over to, say, like right about there. you see the levels button. If you double click it, you'll get an auto levels adjustment. And now I need to output this. So I'm going to use another new brush tool in TK9 version 3. So we'll come to the hamburger menu and I'll click on the multiply brush. And that will let me paint this adjustment on through a selection. And remember this, a multiply blend mode darkens, a screen blend mode lightens. And now with a soft edge brush at 100% opacity, I'm at 50%. I'll type my 0 key. That'll give me 100%. I want to paint 100% opacity in this area right here. And I'm just painting on these rocks, just like so. And now I want to change to 30%. I'll type my 3 key. And what I'll do is just come over here and paint at 30%. And this will show a little bit of depth. No, I think that's a little strong, so I'll come to the layer opacity, and let's just pull that back, and I think I'll take it back to right there, 74%. Let me shut this off. Here's before, and here is after. I like it. I'm looking at the sky, and I just want to darken it up a bit right in here, and I'll use a gradient tool to do it. Right now I have a selection. I'm going to click this button on the combo panel to deselect it. I'm going to hold down my shift key and click on this multiply button. This gives me a curves adjustment layer in a multiply darkening blend mode with a black mask. It's called a multiply brush. And now we're going to click on our gradient tool button. Make sure you click on linear gradient. Make sure you have white to black. What I always like to do to set this up is click on this drop down, open up the basics folder, click on the last swatch, and then make sure I have reverse checked on. If reverse isn't on, it'll be black to white. Click it on, it's white to black. And now you know you have your gradient tool set up properly. And now I want to click right here and drag down. Now hold down your shift key to constrain this and drag it down to right about here. Okay. If we don't want to see this line, what we can do is click right here on the curves icon. Let's shut off this layer. Here's before and here is after. Now the effect is too strong, so we're going to come to the layer opacity and let's drag this back, and I'll take it back to like 85%. So now let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. You know, that keeps our attention off up here in the sky, and it keeps us into the lighthouse. Now, to keep our viewer into the frame, let's close off the bottom of the image. So to do that, we'll do the same thing. Hold your shift key down, click on the multiply button. That gives us a multiply brush. Click on your gradient tool. I'm going to click right here, hold my shift key down to constrain this, and drag this up to like right about here. Now that's way too strong, so we're going to click on the multiply icon so we don't see that line. And what we want to do is take the opacity, let's take it the whole way off, and let's build it up slowly and stop where it looks good. I'm going to drag this to the right, and I think I'm going to stop like right here, 18%. Now let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. See, it just closes off the bottom of the image. Now let's close off the top of the image. So again, hold your shift key down, click on the multiply button, click on your gradient tool, click right about here, click, hold your shift key down and drag down to like right about here. And now click on the curves adjustment icon so we don't see the line. Let's take the opacity the whole way off for this layer. And now let's build it up slowly, and we'll stop right there. Now let me shut this off. Look at the top of the image. Here's before, and now here is after. Again, before and after. I like it. Now, as I study the image, you see the fog behind the lighthouse. It's just slightly too light. I just like to tone it down a bit, and here's how I do it. Let's come up to the multi-mask panel and click on the zone button. And what I want to do is sample this tone right here and click OK. And now let's tighten that up. I'll take the tighten slider and drag it into the left. And I'm going to stop like right here. And it really targets that area. Maybe we'll lighten that up just a little bit. I'll take the brightness slider and drag it to the right just a little wee bit. And now let's come to the hamburger menu. I'm going to click on this button. And I want to darken. So I'm going to use the multiply brush again. So I'll click this button right here. You'll note we have a selection. We'll be painting through a selection. And now, with a nice soft edge brush with just 10% opacity, right now I'm at 30% opacity. I'll type my 1 key. That gets me to 10% opacity. And now I'll make my brush a little larger, and I'm just going to paint over this whole area right in here, just like that, one time. And I'll paint right here one more time. It's a little lighter right in that area. So look at that area right there. I'm going to shut this off. Here's before and here's after. See, it just tones that down a little bit. I love these new brushes in TK9 version 3, Multiply, Screen, Soft Light, and Overlay. They're fantastic in my opinion. I love them. Now we're almost done. Next, let's turn our attention. See this little bit of blue in the sky? I just want to bring up that saturation a little bit. What I'm going to do is come up to the multi-mask panel, click on the color mask button, and I want to sample this blue in the sky right here, and then click OK on the color picker tool. Now, we don't really see anything, but check this out. Double click on auto for auto levels, and now we see it. Isn't that cool? Let's go to the hamburger menu again. Let's click it. This time, I'm going to use a brush I don't often use, and that's the saturation painting brush. So we'll click on that. We're painting through a selection. Now note, right here in this swatch, we have a gray swatch which removes saturation, and we have a red swatch which increases saturation. So we're going to flip these. You can type your X key or click right here and flip these brushes around. Now we have a red brush. And now at 5% opacity, you need to be really light with this brush. I'm going to type my 05 key, and note that gives me 5% brush opacity. And again, a nice soft edge brush. I'm just going to paint over this area one time, lift my brush, I'm going to paint it again, just like that. Now let me shut off this layer. Here is before, and here is after. See that little saturation increase in the blue? Again, before and after. I like it. Most landscape images could really use a vignette, so let's use one on this image. So if your TK actions aren't open, click your TK button, click on Vignette. The Gaussian blur dialog comes up, just click OK. And let me go ahead and shut this off. Here's before, here's after. I'm going to protect the darkest dark, so come up to the multi-mask panel, click on the Edit Blend Diff button, click on No Darks 2. That takes the darkest darks out of the vignette. Let me shut off the vignette. Here's the before and here's the after. I like it. This image really needs that vignette. Now, the last thing I want to do is you see this area of the sky right here, just the light area. I just want to tone it down just slightly. And I call this paying attention to details. We need to get to the multi-mask panel. So Edit Blend Diff is open. Click the X. Nothing changes on the Edit Blend Diff layer. Click on the Luminosity Mask button. And we need a light, but I'm looking for very light areas. This is lights 1. This is lights 2. We're getting closer. Let's go to lights 3. Yes, lights 3 is targeting those light areas that I want. Now again, I'm going to come down to the hamburger menu and I want to darken, so I'm going to use the multiply brush again. So I'll click on this button and you'll note we have a selection. We're painting through a selection. I want to paint this area with a nice soft edge brush with like 30% opacity. Right now I'm at 5%. I'll type my 3 key and all I want to do is paint over this entire light area like this. That's one time. Let's paint it one more time. It's probably too strong. Right like that. Let's shut this off. Here's before and here's after. Now, if it's too strong, come to the layer opacity and let's just pull that back. Let's take it the whole way off and let's build it up slowly. And let's stop where we think it looks good. And I'm thinking maybe right there. Maybe I'll just pull it back a little bit more. Let me shut this off. Look in this area up in here. Here is before and here's after. See, it just tones that area of the sky down, just the very light areas. Now let's see where we started from. On the Contour 6 panel, I'll click the before after button. We started out here and now we end up here. And I'm really happy with the final result. And I do hope that you download the image and the PDF notes and that you give this edit a try. Well, there it is, everyone. Another TK Friday comes to an end. I hope you enjoyed today's full edit. If you did, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And if you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe. Click that bell notification icon. Click all so that you receive all notifications. And then every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll get notified about it. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today on The Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. And I will see you all right here next time. But until then, happy editing.